Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m., it's Miss Sarah's Dynamic Gospel Power Show. Tune in on the Tam Talk Radio Network.
Hey, you new to the area or just want to know about the best hidden gems and upcoming events? Stay tuned. Be Local Buzz with Devin takes you to these places, introduces you to the best businesses, and tells you about upcoming buzz. Preset your radio to Tan Talk 1340 AM or 106.1 FM every Thursday from 4 to 5. That is the Be Local Buzz with Devin on Tan Talk 1340 AM and 106 FM every Thursday from 4 to 5. Looking forward to speaking with you.
This is the Tam Talk Radio Network.
It's now time for Connecting Caregivers with author, speaker, caregiver advocate, and talk show host, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for caregivers.
Caregivers around the world today, it's time to lift you up. It's time to celebrate. Good afternoon and welcome to Connecting Caregivers with me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers with love, laughter, and lessons learned. We have Mr. Ed on the board today. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, and happy Friday to you.
Yes, it's a good Friday. It is a very happy Friday and Mother's Day weekend. That's very nice. So I don't know what I'm doing, but probably nothing, which is very good for me. I said to the kids, we could just come over and get a pizza and go in the pool. I would be fine.
Ooh.
So we will see.
Got the weather for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Peach will stay warm.
Yeah.
Get in the pool.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, my best friend and co-host and sidekick is not here today. She has a little air conditioning issues, and that's very important to take care of when you're in Florida. And we have my friend Peggie Sherry with us today from Faces of Courage. We're going to talk to on the second half of the show, so welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here today. I want to give a shout out to our newest listeners. We have Elsie in St. Pete, Diane in Largo, and Sharon in Tampa. And like I say, there's always plenty of room around the Connecting Caregivers table for more listeners, whether you listen when we're live on AM, FM, or on Facebook, or on YouTube, or the recordings, or whatever. We're just here to bring you help and hope. I know your journey's not always easy, but I think the more education and the more resources you have, you can find joy in the journey. And like I say all the time, if you need a resource or you have a question about something, call me or email me. And if I don't have the answer, I know somebody who does. Aren't we so lucky to live in this Tampa Bay community where professionals want to work together?
Absolutely.
And help each other and make a difference? Because, I go to other states to speak sometimes. They're not as friendly. Like, don't talk to that person. There's plenty of business for all of us is what I got to say.
Put us out of business.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that be fabulous?
Yeah, I think so.
So we just finished my 3-day conference, which was quite challenging. So we had 440 something registrants. First day, everything went smooth. We averaged 75 to 100 per session, all really good. That was Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I get up and I said, well, let me see if anybody else registered. And I go into Zoom and it says the conference is over. No, it's not. It's really not. So my wonderful webmaster was on the phone with Zoom from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. before we could do something to resolve this. And I had to move my speaker because we couldn't have the first speaker. But we worked it out. And we moved the speaker to the next day. And the last day of everything was smooth sailing. Smooth sailing. So we already have the next conference planned for November 11th, 12th, and 13th, 2025. If you like this conference, let me know. If there are topics you want to see in the next conference, please let me know. So I know in the next conference, we're definitely going to have Voices of Hope for Aphasia. We need to talk about that again. I'm looking to have Parkinson's if possible. We'll always have an elder care attorney. We'll always have caregiver burnout, hospice, those other topics. I'm looking also to have LGBTQ. So if there's something you want to hear about, or there's something I think I need to know about, I would love to have a dentist for seniors that would talk about dental health, because I hate to see it, but every now and then I hear somebody saying, oh, she's 82. She don't need to get her teeth fixed. She's not going to live that many more years. No, you need to have your teeth, and that has so much to do with your digestion and with everything else. So do we have our friend Nancy Poland on the line?
Hello, yes, I am on the line.
How are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Joyful and grateful.
Good.
I'm very glad that you're here. So, Nancy, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am retired happily, and my main focus is that I talk about caregiving, lots of topics, and the name of my little company is Grace's Message. I've written a couple books about caregiving, and I'm really concerned about how caregivers can practice self-care and find resources and tools for their job they're doing.
So why did you pick caregiving?
Well, I took care of my parents.
Everybody's got a story.
Oh, everybody has a story. So I took care of my parents intensely for about 6 years, but my dad had dementia. So after caring for him, which was very intense, I decided to write a book, and it's called Dancing with Louie.
Yeah, I love the
A
title.
father-daughter dance before and after Louie body dementia came to live with us. I just wanted people to know they're not alone, that it can be very hard, but that there are resources and tools and people to help you.
And you can find joy in the journey.
Oh, for sure. There were times we'd laugh, when he could still talk, he'd tell old stories. And even if he told them a couple of times, we'd laugh or old family jokes. I mean, it was really a time I really got to know my parents a lot better.
That's what a lot of people say to me is very interesting. They go, in the end years, as I took care of my parents, I learned more about them than I didn't even know before, that I thought I knew.
Yes.
So that's really very interesting. And I still think along the journey, we want to learn different ways to take care of our loved ones, that we can find happiness in it. You know, we're so worried every day about, are they pooping? Are they peeing? Did they take their meds? Are they eating? Yeah, just sit down and talk to them. Just sit down and spend time with them, touch them. You know, I have a gentleman who takes care of his aunt, and his aunt has an issue with sundowners. So, and she also had an issue with eating. So every afternoon, right around sundowners time, he makes these little tiny fancy sandwiches for her and gives her some sparkling cider in like a crystal glass. And they dance to big band music for 1 hour. She has no more sundowners. No more sundowners. She's eating some food. And the neighbors say we watch them through the windows, and it just brings us joy.
Oh, that's precious.
Yeah.
And the precious memories for when, the person passes away.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Nancy, tell us why you say caregiving self-care is more than a hot bubble bath.
So often, we're all guilty of saying it to a caregiver, take care of yourself. And when we hear it, we just tend to roll our eyes and say, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm okay.
And, maybe locking yourself in the bathroom for half an hour and taking a bubble bath is your escape. Or maybe you're going to visit your parents and you take the weekend off and send your brother, and that's self-care. But there's so many other facets to it. One is personal safety.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
One thing, say you're going into your parents' house, or maybe even you're a professional caregiver that goes into someone's house. And the very first thing you should do is make sure you have personal protective equipment. So do you have gloves handy? Do you have shoes on that you're not going to trip up? That if you need to take your shoes off, you have something safe to put on your feet. Maybe you even want to wear a gown or something to cover yourself, because you can get exposures, of course, as you said, pooping and peeing to bodily fluids. You can get exposure to blood, even just drooling. And if that person's been sick, here you go, you're going to catch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you always have to have your personal space and whoever you're caring for, and you always want to have safety for yourself, because you don't want to get sick. You don't want to, like you said, if you don't want to come in and trip over the carpet. You want it to be safe, and you want it to be safe for the people that you're caring for.
And here's an example. My husband has a certain disease, and he needed methotrexate, which is given by needles. Well, the first time I gave it to him, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any training, and I took it out and I put it in. I got it over my hand instead of inside him.
Oh, goodness.
So I called my nephew, who's a diabetic, and I said, how do I do this? And he told me how to do it properly. you need to.
I can't believe they
educate
gave you
them.
that to do it and they didn't give you any training with it.
Well, and I didn't go to the doctor with him that particular time. He just brings it home, and he had the training, but he wasn't paying attention. And yeah, I know it was not the smartest thing I've ever done.
Well, we all do different things, and we all learn how to do it better.
Right.
And that's how we have this show. So, besides the safety, what do you want to talk about boundaries?
I just think boundaries is something we don't think about when we're caregivers. Maybe you've never gotten along with your parents, or maybe one of them is mean and nasty, and now here you are as a caregiver. You have to find ways to deal with that. And maybe you feel you have a moral obligation to care for them. But, if they're going to yell at you, or maybe they have Alzheimer's disease and they were a nice, quiet, mild person. Now they're yelling at you. Or maybe,
right.
Dad is grabbing your hand and Dad's a lot stronger than you. You need to really think about, how am I going to care for this person and be mentally safe?
And if I can.
Safe?
If I can, maybe it's not me. Maybe I can't do it.
That's right.
Maybe then my responsibility is to find someone else that can care for them.
That's right. Because even, in your head, okay, maybe this person has dementia, or maybe they're in a lot of pain, but you're still a human being, and you do not deserve to be, harassed on and on. So maybe you do. Maybe they go into an institution. Maybe you find a professional caregiver. And so many caregivers die before the person they're caring
Oh, yeah,
for.
definitely. It's like 67% die before the person they're taking care of. But today there's like so many options. Like we had a discussion this morning. I had a live support group, and we had a discussion. And one woman, her husband's in a memory care place. She knew that it was not safe for him at home anymore. And it also wasn't safe for her, because if he was to fall and take her down, what would happen? Another one had a conversation about moving into an independent community with her husband, and then seeing as it progresses, because this particular community starts with independent. You can go to assistant, you can go to memory care on the same campus. So I think we have to see what we can handle and what we can't. And it's okay if we can't.
Well, don't ever make that promise. If we had promised my dad we never put him in a nursing home, he had to been here so bad, eventually he couldn't even move. He was basically
he probably
paralyzed.
he didn't even know he was in a nursing home. He didn't know where the heck he was.
Well, and none of us could lift him. None of us had a house without stairs, or we worked full time. We physically could not have been able to care for him. And, it was such relief when he did go into one, because he had nursing care 24/7.
Well, and the wonderful thing about that is when he goes into that community, then you get to be his daughter again.
That's right. And we'd go visit him. We'd go listen to the musical presentations, or, that. So it was a relief. And it's great if people can take care of their loved ones at home and it goes well, but it doesn't always go well. Another thing is, I used to speak for the Alzheimer's Association, a great organization. And one of their examples was a man taking care of his wife, and she'd get agitated and angry, and they would say, always keep your phone on you. If you're in the bathroom, keep your phone. If you're, keep an extra battery to charge it, because you don't know when that person's going to turn. And you need to keep yourself safe.
Yeah, I think we need to keep everybody safe. I really think we need to. So are you doing any caregiving now?
My husband's getting older. He's a bit older than me. And he's had some physical problems on a trip. And lately his feet have gotten very bad. So, we had to bring his walker and learn how to adapt to it. It was kind of surprising how fast it happened.
Yeah.
At one point, I kind of snapped at one woman. She's like, can you move the luggage? I'm like, no, I have to get my husband, rollator. And then I felt kind of bad, but, then sometimes he takes care of me. I mean, I've had a cold and he's doing the laundry and this and that. So it's useful. But yeah. And my oldest sister is getting some,
what the thing is, we're living so much longer than we ever did before. In the day it was you retired, you got one Social Security check, and then you died. And everybody used to say what a ripoff that was. That's far from that today. And so I think that's one of the issues that all families need to look at is none of us are getting out alive. We're all aging and we're living longer. So how are we going to make this good for everybody?
Right, right.
And sometimes we're involved with it and sometimes we're not.
Yeah. I write for a Price of Business, it's called, and I just wrote an article on the fragile adults. And if we live long enough, we're all going to get fragile, and we need to plan ahead for our parents and, aunts and uncles, if they need a caregiver, even for ourselves.
Well, I think we need to be responsible for ourselves. Okay. So I'm going to be 72 this year. So I go to the Curves gym, the old ladies gym, 3 mornings a week. And I walk my at least 7,000 steps a day. And I have a townhome, so I have to go up and down the stairs. And I just had my bathroom remodeled and had the tub taken out so I can age in place. Had a bidet put in because I'm pretty good now, but I don't know how I'm going to be when I'm 80 and I don't want no UTIs. So
exactly.
I'm planning for my future to age in place and to hopefully my children will not have to take care of me. Or if it is, it'll be very little.
It's just so important to think ahead. If you have a 2-story house and you can't do stairs, I mean, we lived in a 3-story house and we sold it. Now we're in a 1-level townhome. So we're prepared.
I have 2 stories, and my granddaughter already said something about, Grandma, you're not going to be able to live there when you're older. And I said, what are you talking about? Those stairs keep me alive. Going up and down those stairs keep me alive. And you know what?
Yeah.
If it gets tough at one time, you'll get me one of them scooter chairs that go up the stairs. I have it in my townhome now. I could live downstairs or I could live upstairs. Upstairs I have an extra bedroom. I could put a little mini fridge in there and a microwave if I needed to. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's our responsibility to try to do everything we can to take care of ourselves.
Yep. And that's exactly my nephew he's made a place for my sister to stay downstairs, and he has one of those lifters, and she's got her little microwave. She can make the tea, and she loves it. And she's still very active, but she may not be.
Well, I hope you're making plans for yourself to age in place.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, we have a 1-level townhome and a walk-in shower. And
good.
Hopefully we'll be able to get along.
Yeah. So, Nancy, what's the last thing you want our listeners to hear today?
Well, just that we really need to take care of ourselves, like you said. When you're a caregiver, think about lifting. Are you going to lift your person's wheelchair?
Are you able
car?
to? Are you able?
I did that for 3 months, and let me tell you, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
Are you totally exhausted?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plan for rest.
Exactly.
Oh.
And where can they find your books?
They're on Amazon under Nancy R. Poland, and I have a website. You can either look under nancyrpoland.com or gracesmessage.com. And I have lots of caregiving tips on my website, tools, newsletters.
Wonderful.
So
all right. I'll make sure I put all that information in the show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Have a delicious day.
Hey, you too. Take care.
And now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners, because you know the deal. If you don't hear from them, you don't hear from me. So don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Are you getting older, or are you taking care of somebody who is? Getting older creates new problems you probably never imagined. One of the big ones is, how do you pay for care? Care in your home, care in an assisted living facility, or care in a nursing home. Did you know that nursing home care in our community can cost up to $12,000 per month? For the last 33 years, our office has helped families access benefits, including Medicaid, VA, and PACE, to help pay for the cost of long-term care. Regardless of what your assets are or what your income is, you can qualify for these benefits. Proper planning and guidance are absolutely necessary to avoid being wiped out. Let us help. If you are in care or heading in that direction, we can help solve that problem. Take action now to obtain benefits to pay for the cost of care. Here are the 4 things that you need to do. 1, get a new power of attorney. Your old one probably isn't good enough. Get a healthcare surrogate and a living will. 3, get an estate plan that will not disqualify you from benefits. And 4, get a plan to qualify for Medicaid, PACE, or VA benefits to pay for the long-term care costs. Call us today for a free consultation, 727-539-0181, or go to flmedicaid.com and download our free book on Medicaid and planning for long-term care. I'm Sean Scott. I'm here to help.
Guaranteed to make you laugh through your tears, Linda Burhans' book, Good Night and God Bless, is filled with humor and heartfelt inspiration to aid anyone facing the challenge of caring for a loved one at the end of life. Her story offers hope for human strength and understanding of weaknesses during a difficult time. Life doesn't normally prepare us to become a loved one's caregiver. When it happens, it's usually sudden. A diagnosis of an illness, age-related frailty, dementia, and life suddenly is anything but normal. And because we don't even know what we don't know, where do we turn to for help or guidance? In Connecting Caregivers, Answers to the Questions You Didn't Know You Needed to Ask, Linda offers information, education, and inspiration from her own experience and from experts whose advice, practical tools, and personal stories will empower and guide you. Make sure to add these inspiring books to your collection today. Available on Amazon.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
So we're back. That was a very interesting conversation. I want to remind you all to go to my website, lindaburhans.com, and nominate someone for the Caregiver Contest. Every single person that is nominated receives a gift from me. And then once a quarter, we pick out one winner. We just pick it randomly because you're all winners to us. And you get a bunch of gift cards and a facial and some respite care and a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And just even someone getting nominated, for me to send them a little gift, they're so overwhelmed that someone thought about them and that somebody cared about them. Because what would we do without the caregivers? So please do that. I'm pretty sure we're going to pick the winner either next week or the week after. I'm hoping on the last Friday of the month, having the winner here on the show, possibly, if we can, if it's somebody local. Also, talking about local stuff, this morning I did a support group, a live support group, and we're going to have a caregiver luncheon on Wednesday, June 11th at noon on Clear Sky on Park in Seminole. Just conversation, just some little camaraderie, just a little bit of fun. So if you want to come, just let me know. You can call me at 727-365-8383, or you can email me at lindaburhans@aol.com. We have about 6 ladies already. It's a nice place, and if we get a good group, we'll have a separate room, so that could be really nice. So Peggie, I'm so glad you're here today. We've known each other for quite a while because you are the face of Faces of Courage. So let's just talk a little bit first about what Faces of Courage is.
What we do is we do camps and outings for women and children and teens and families diagnosed with any type of cancer. All of our programs are free. We are based out of Tampa, but people come into our programs from all over the United States. So when we did a weekend camp just 3 weeks ago for the Women of Color Cancer Camp, they came from all over. And
So
we are the only
exciting, isn't
ones that do that camp in the world.
And what do they do at the camp?
Everything with the adults, from massages to makeovers to spa treatments to arts and crafts to a dance party. All of our food is cooked from scratch, and we do a whole gourmet weekend with flambe this and, you know, and make to order, breakfast. And it really is amazing. We have 1,600 volunteers, so we are heavily volunteer driven. And all of our programs are free. We have had over 14,000 people through our programs.
So cool. And you see people at their low, and you see people at their high.
Yeah.
It's very blessing to get to see that high.
They don't just come to see us once. And with our children's program starts at age 2. So a child diagnosed with, let's say, leukemia.
Yeah.
That happens most common at age 2. And we also are different than other cancer camps that are for children because we invite the siblings. The parents aren't invited. They don't get to come, but the kids get to come, and we have medical nurses and doctors that are on site to administer all the medications.
Well, and isn't it nice for me to see my sister or brother happy?
Yeah.
And to be involved in that happiness along with them, because me as their sister or brother see some tough times with them.
Yeah.
And have to go through some tough times. And maybe things aren't so easy for me because my sister has an issue.
This is the first time that the siblings get to be equal. So it's usually the cancer kid that gets the cards and the gifts and the famous people coming to visit.
Right.
At this camp, everybody gets to be special.
Yeah, because everybody is special.
They are.
I can cry right now. Everybody is special. So what's this new book? Grab Me First.
So what we did is we started out with breast cancer tips and tricks. And that was all about the emotional effects of cancer, because the medical community doesn't deal with the emotional effects.
No.
And then they don't deal
They're so
with,
clinical.
Yeah. And then once you hear I'll see you in a year, go forth, be normal, how do we transition from being a very good cancer patient to now the new normal? Who are we going to be after cancer? And that whole journey, again, no one ever talks about it.
Yep.
I always say that when I walked out of the doctor's office on April 24th, I was like, yes, I'm done. And then I went, oh my God, I'm done.
Right.
When's it coming back? Where's it coming back? How's it coming back?
Right. Because that's all you think of.
That's how you think of. And this book was also for the caregivers, how to deal with the emotional effects of the cancer patient. And then we finished that. And what we found out was people were getting this book, Breast Cancer Tips and Tricks, and giving it to lung cancer and colon cancer and brain cancer. And we thought, oh, you know what? Most of that information is for all cancers. Right. So we decided that we're going to write a second book and take out the breast cancer specific information and gear it to all cancer and elaborate on some of the chapters. So we got to the end of life chapter and what happens, what are your wishes and what does your family need to know once you pass or in an emergency. And we started to write that chapter, and then we kept writing the chapter and writing the chapter and writing the chapter. And it turned into an 86-page book. And it's all about, let's say that you drop dead. How does somebody get into your phone?
Right.
How do they get into your Facebook account?
Right.
How do they get into your bank accounts?
Who's your vet?
Who's your vet? What do you feed your dog?
Right.
And
exactly.
Where are the children? Where are the grandchildren? Where's the money? Who do you want to get what from your estate? You had a business. Let's say you're running an Etsy business. Let's say you're running a small business. Right. Where are the employees? Who owns it?
Right.
And so this is a fillable file that anyone can open it up, type directly on it, save it, or print it out and update pages as you move or you change accounts or, whatever. And it is free on our website. We didn't do any of these books to charge money. It's about information.
Yep.
The Breast Cancer Tips and Tricks is also in Spanish. It's for
cool.
It's for free on our website. Moffitt has translated it into Russian, German, and are working on some other translations. Cool. And they're using it as the base for their AI. So that's very exciting for us.
Very exciting.
The next book we're continuing to work on. It hasn't gotten finished, but we actually released this Grab Me First right before the hurricane. Because if you think about it, if your house is flooded, like many of the houses in Florida were, or burned down, unfortunately, or a tree fell on it, where is that information?
And it's so important because anybody can use this.
Right. Everybody
you don't have
needs
to have cancer. Everybody needs this information.
Because I know that when my husband died and suddenly heart attack, very quick, no sign, then I was like, where is everything?
Right.
Half your brain is gone when your spouse either has a medical issue or passes away. And I think everybody needs to take responsibility and do this.
And then there's that issue after your loved one passes away is, what the hell do I do now? What about me? And I found so many caregivers was so focused on taking care of their loved one, they didn't think about anything for themselves.
I didn't know where my laundry was.
Right.
I had to go into the closet, pull out the hanger, and go, "Oh, it's at McNatt's."
But it's true. You're, you know, and writing this stuff down is so important too. You know, even your medication and all that. Because I remember at one time the ambulances come to take my husband to the hospital, and I told them what my mother was allergic to. Not what my husband was allergic to. Great, I'll kill him instead of helping him. Well, thank God, like 60 seconds later, I realized it and I said it. And then after that, I was like, Linda, you tell everybody else you need to write everything down. You need to write everything down. Yeah.
And we also included, what are your wishes in the end? Do you want certain music? Do you want it to be quiet? Do you want someone to read to you? Do you want a Bible verse every day? Do you want to just see pictures? Do you want a lot of visitors? Do you want no visitors?
Yeah, because some people don't want to see people.
My mother shut the door and would not let anyone who wasn't family in for those last 3 weeks of her life. Yeah. And it broke the heart of other people, but I understood and respected. That's
how my husband was. He said, I don't want them to see me that way.
Right. She was,
and they would, they wanted to come visit, and he wasn't well.
Yeah.
And it just was just like immediate family, and that was his wishes, and that was fine.
And and we have to accept that. So, but if we don't know your wishes,
right,
how do we choose the right thing for you?
Right.
And so it just kind of gently asks those questions. What do you want?
Yeah.
And
because none of us are getting out alive.
No. And is there anything special that you want to give to somebody that's not maybe in your will? Maybe you have a special teacup.
You know what I've been doing lately? My niece was over last week. Oh, I love that picture on the wall. I go, take it.
Yeah.
Just take it.
Take it down.
Yeah. Because then I go over her house. I'll see it hanging on the wall. Be like, oh, how nice is that? Right. I don't need it. I don't need anything.
And no one's fighting over it later.
Yeah. And she liked it. And I get to see her enjoy it. And I'm not dead. You know, so I think we should do that because you know what happens? When you pass away, nobody wants your stuff.
Oh well, I hope that's not true.
Well, certain things, but you know what? A lot of your stuff nobody wants. That whenever I have a support group and the woman passes away first, the husband invariably calls me and says, "Do you like Hummels?"
It was actually, we tried to make it fun when my parents both had passed. They passed almost a year to the date, and there's 5 sisters. And it was my mother's wish that the husbands not be involved, just the sisters. And we would go, we might have fixed a cocktail, but we went from room to room and each sister got to pick an item first.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And it started with the oldest, which I would have disagreed with because I wasn't the oldest.
Of course.
But, and then the value, if it had a value, it was subtracted from the estate.
Right.
And so if there was more than one person that wanted a certain item, there was a dresser, and my baby sister wanted that dresser, and the second sister wanted the dresser, and we let them bid on the dresser because the money's going to come out of the entire estate. Or if you had something like, there was a pair of earrings that I was with my mom when she bought those earrings.
Right. So it means something to you.
And it meant something. So we had these little funny hats that we could put on. One was a shark and one was a parrot. And if you were willing to outbid somebody, you wore the shark hat. But if you had a story about that item and you wanted to convince the other person to step down from the bidding war, then you put the parrot hat on.
And what a great idea. And then you got to share some stuff that nobody knew about those earrings, right?
And in the end, we put like name tags on each item. And the next day we came back and we collected it all. And it was and what was left, we donated to charity. Yeah. And it was just a beautiful experience because nobody was ugly about it.
No.
I was a banker the first 18 years of my life, and I can remember settling estates where the whole family came in and there might have been a penny difference. Honest to God,
and they're miserable.
I had pennies in my purse that I would take a penny out and go, if this fixes it, I will give you the extra, to make it absolutely even. And I thought, how horrible.
Yeah.
That families fight over stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know my stepmother, there's one thing I want. It's this big, beautiful screen. And on the back, there's a big sticker and says, this is Linda's. And there's other stuff that my sisters want that there's a sticker on or whatever.
Yeah.
And the rest will make a deal or whatever. Or The rest of her family can come in and just take it. I don't care. I don't care. It's funny. My stepmother lives in Greenwich Village, and her apartment is under rent control. So she pays like $1,600, and the neighbor pays like $9,000 for the same place. Well, the only way she could keep that is if it was in the family. So she proposed to me.
She gonna adopt you?
She said she wanted me to get married. Marry her.
Okay.
And then I would get it. But I have to live there for 2 years. It's in Greenwich Village, which is really cool. But I go there for her. And you can't, if you could like Airbnb it or something, I would definitely keep it. But you can't. So, but yeah, it's very, very interesting. Like they just want her, bye, go to heaven, please, so we can do that whole place over. So tell me about all the different camps and how many camps do you do a year?
We do more outings than camps because the camps are very expensive. They're very intense. And I'm the only employee. And so all of the work is done ahead of time pretty much. And so we have the Women of Color. In September, we will have the women's camp. In December, we have the kids camp. But we'll have many outings. Like we just took 103 women, 50 of them Spanish, 53 of them English speaking on 2 separate weekends to Marie Selvey Gardens down in Sarasota, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
We have taken them and we go ziplining. We took the teens ziplining and we took the women ziplining up in Ocala. We have done the Dolly Museum. We did a 20-mile canoe trip down the Swanee River where we hired a rustic guide that cooked all our meals over fires.
How cool is that? And you have a cruise coming up too, right?
We are doing a cruise starting Monday, and we have a deal with Carnival Lines that when you're a charity, that for every room that we sell at the going rate, whatever our travel agent gets us as a group rate, then Carnival kicks back to the charity about $30
That's
per
so
room.
Fabulous.
And so to me, it's an easy fundraiser because we go, we have fun. Everybody does some group, and then it doesn't cost the cruisers anymore because it's really Carnival that's paying the donation to the charities.
And you know what? So many people think when they have cancer or something, I can't have fun anymore.
Oh, well.
It's so sad.
It should be just the opposite.
I need to have all the fun I can.
Yeah, turn it up. And that's kind of what we talk about at camp, is that it's all about coming together and having fun and realizing you're not alone and realizing that your fears are exactly what other people's fears are. And I one of the camps I was at, it was last year, September, a woman came up to me and she was crying and she said, "Thank you. This is the first time since I've been diagnosed stage 4 that I didn't lie to people."
Yeah.
And I'm like, lie to people? And she goes,
there's a stigma for some people.
When people ask me how I am, I say I'm fine, but I'm dying. Well, we're all dying is what I told her.
Exactly.
But and there's a real power to camp. And I'll tell you one of my favorite stories is that somebody called me and said, "Listen, Sandra's really sick." And I don't go visit everybody. I've had 14,000 campers. Yeah. I can't visit you when you've got a cold or the flu. Right. But when it comes to end time, if someone lets me know, I'll come visit you. And so I went to the hospital and the doctor met me outside the door with the nurses, very concerned, like she's never leaving this room. We had to cut out all of this stuff. The cancer has spread. It's in her liver. It's in her back. It's everywhere. So, go say your goodbyes. And I'm like, oh, for this. What do you say?
Right.
When you're walking in and you just love this person. And so I walked in and she saw me and Sandra screams at the top of her voice, "I'm not dying, Miss Peggie. I'm going back to camp." So I said,
I guess, okay, I got goosebumps.
We got to have a little conversation then. And I sat down in our bed and I said, Sandra, I just think your guardian angels are smoking crack. I think we need to right now, fire your guardian angels, get some new guardian angels, and let's see how this goes. And that was 5 years ago. And she was at camp 3 weeks ago. She came back in a wheelchair. And then she came back on a walker and oxygen. And now she's gained 30 pounds. She's one of my board of directors.
You see her thrive.
She's going on the cruise on Monday. And I know. But those are the things that make you change your belief system, because when dis-ease causes disease.
Right.
So when we tell ourselves that it's the worst case scenario and that we're going to die in 3 weeks, like the doctor told us, sometimes they live 20 years longer and they go to the doctor's funeral. And if we believe that we can be those people, we're ahead of the game.
Well, it was very funny when my mom had stage 4 colon cancer when we found out about it. And the doctors wanted her to do some chemo. We didn't think it was such a great idea, but she wanted to try it. It's her body. And we did 2 rounds and she was out like a light. It was like, we're not doing this anymore. Well, my mother also had dementia, but I didn't know she had dementia until after she was dead. Because I just thought she was being goofy and she had the chemo drugs and whatever. Well, when we stopped doing the chemo, she told everyone she was cured. Now, I don't know if she thought she was cured, she wanted to be cured, or she wanted everybody to think she was cured. But you know what you put in your head? We had 18 months of delight, of absolute delight. I was with her every day, except one day I went to jury duty. They wouldn't let me bring her. But we traveled. She made up with people that she needed to make up with. If we had just accepted that, oh, she's too fragile to do anything. I mean, she went up in a hot air balloon and my sister's husband proposed to her there, to my sister. So what are those adventures that you got to have? So a diagnosis doesn't always mean it's the end.
True. And I had a camper once that she had been at hospice house and they checked her out of hospice house and brought her to camp. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, don't die on my watch.
Please.
You know? And she was just the most lovely woman. And she bonded with everybody in her cabin. And they put her back in hospice house. And she was still there 7 months later. And they were coming and visiting. The campers would say, oh, we're going to go see her this Friday. And so-and-so is bringing a guitar. And then Tuesday, her son has, graduation from elementary school. And they just kept putting like carrots in front of the rabbit going, just stay alive for a day longer, stay alive for 3 days longer. She went 7 months.
Yeah.
And she lived. We took her to Gasparilla, put her on a float. She lived.
Yeah, she should live.
And that's the thing, I think, is that your mind is in control of a lot of that.
Yeah.
And if you stop being a victim and start being a survivor and a thriver and I
want to be a thriver. Yeah.
Yeah. And a warrior, then you have a better outcome.
Yeah, and I just think it empowers you, it empowers your family, it empowers the people that are around you. I mean, stuff happens in life. Some terrible things happen. And with anything, what do? You see people that have no legs. And then they get fake legs and they're running marathons, and the things that people can do. The human spirit is unbelievable. And you must see that all the time.
Yeah. And it's, and the end's out of our control, I think. I had one 86-year-old camper. She had had cancer 10 years beforehand. And we were doing a project, and the cover of the book shows one of the outcomes of the project. We were body painting cancer survivors that were breast cancer survivors who had heavy scarring. And so she said to me, she goes, I want to get body painted. I'm like, you take off your top. Are you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah. I
said, if you just want to hang with us, we'll just go to lunch. We'll forget the body painting. And she's no, I really want to do that. And so she did it. And the picture came out fabulous. And afterwards she said to me, she goes, on Monday, I got a call and the cancer's back. And I said, okay, well, what are the next steps? And she goes, well, we're going to do some scans. And then, from the time that we get the results of the scans, then we'll figure out. And I said, okay, so we know there's a bridge ahead, but we don't know how high the bridge is or how deep the water is, right, or how far away the bridge is. So you need to go on living your life just as it is, because we don't have an answer.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, she got off the elder bus from USF and a car ran her over and killed her. And I was just in shock, but I was so happy she was living her life.
Yeah.
Her end had a different ending than dying of cancer.
Right.
But she was living her life.
It was quick.
It was quick. And at her funeral, I got up and told the story about her, wanting to do this body painting. We actually brought the picture for her daughter. And her daughter looks at me and says, she didn't tell me she did that.
Yeah, we don't always tell everything. All right. We'll be back in a second. We need to hear from our wonderful partners, so don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio. Excuse me? Oh, he's telling me to hang on 1 second. Yeah, I just love hearing the stories. I love hearing the personal stories. That's the best part about what can happen and what we can do. We good, Ed?
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week, so check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
We believe the power of the human body and mind can do amazing things, and that tapping into that power, not just tricking it with a temporary disguise, is possible. Superpatch technology uses a special pattern and vibrotactile technology to help you go from feeling blah to hurrah. Now, once the Superpatch is in contact with your skin, it triggers a neutral response in the brainstem that helps you tackle your daily problems head on. Whether you're struggling with pain, balance, stress, or focus, we have a solution that might be right for you. With Superpatch's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Hi, this is Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. I started using the Liberty Patch over 3 years ago. I used to be a tripper, but since wearing the Liberty Patch, I haven't tripped once. The Liberty Patch is proven to reduce the risk of falling by up to 8 times. And as we all know, if you prevent the fall, you prevent the call. Don't wait until it's too late. Preventative solutions are the answer.
Superpatch does not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure illness. Superpatch is FDA registered. To receive 25% off your first order, go to sticktoit.info. That's sticktoit.info and learn more.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. So how do people find out about the camps? Like, there's people listening to the show right now.
We've been around. I've been doing it for 25 years.
But like, do they ever go to the doctor's office? Do the doctors ever tell them?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It depends. And oftentimes I believe that the campers that come to the programs spread the word.
Yeah.
And they're going to support groups. I'm not a support group. I just do the fun things with cancer.
Yeah.
I like to send people to the hockey games.
The party,
and, and to have the good times. We're getting ready to do a paint and sip. And we're actually getting ready to work with the YMCA to do some free programs for breast cancer or all cancer survivors before they open Live Strong for the next 12 weeks.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And so that'll be in August. But I think that so many of the online support groups or online Facebook pages that people are posting our flyers there, because our programs always sell out very quickly, and people come from, and we have zero marketing dollars, so we don't.
You don't need it.
We are very cognizant of the importance of the donor dollars, and we don't get any big government grants. I don't get United Way money. We raise our money.
Grassroots.
And I say, when people ask me where you get the money to run the thing, I said, I'm a begging whore. But your money
because people want to help.
Yeah, and your money's directly touching them. It's not chasing a cure.
Right.
It's directly touching the people who are already.
You can
diagnosed.
see the fruits of your donation.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I think so.
You get to do something good for somebody and you get to see it. That's really nice, because lots of times you do good and you don't get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really nice. So give me one more good story before we have to wrap things up.
I think that one of the stories that was always profound with me was the little boy that came to camp, and his mom called me afterwards, and we did an arts and crafts project. And there's lots of things going on at camp. And this kid is making the birdhouse out of wood,
Yep.
And so the mom calls me and she goes, Peggie, my son was at your camp and he made this birdhouse. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, well, when I'm looking at it, he wants me to put it up and it's so ugly. I put it away, and he's asking me why. And I said, well, the roof's just not right, and I said, he's 5.
Yeah, who cares?
And then she says, but it's only like half painted. And I said, there's a lot of things going on. There's like the bounce house out here. We might have some horses in a petting zoo out there. We're playing basketball. We got tie-dye.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid's not going to sit there all day to make a perfect, perfect birdhouse. And she goes, he died. And you couldn't give me $1 million for that birdhouse now.
Oh.
And it was like, oh my God, how important are those little things when you get by the superficialness of the roof not being perfect.
Like the bird would matter. I'm not eating nothing out of that. I'm going to the hotel one.
Absolutely true.
But it is. Yeah. And we just talked a lot about this on the conference too, about legacy projects, which gets me, the teddy bears, the hands together in the bust. And those things are so important to do with your loved one.
They are.
And to spend time with your loved one. I mean, I have teddy bears that are made out of my husband's shirt. They made a teddy bear for my granddaughter with the shirt he wore at her wedding. So. Or,
everyone has a phone now, and you can record a video.
Yep.
You can ask questions. Especially if they're, in those end days, ask questions that you don't need. My parents have been gone a long time. And I have all the pictures. And I wish I'd asked a lot of questions.
Yeah,
because
like, who is that?
Right. Who the hell is it?
Exactly.
And was this person important to you? Or was that your tour guide?
Yeah.
Or
the neighbor you didn't like.
And it is a closet full at my house, and I cannot get in there and do anything. Yeah. And I feel trapped by it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Where can our listeners find you?
On our website is facesofcourage.org. And that's where they can download both of the books, whether English or Spanish.
Perfect.
And the workbook.
And if anybody out there has some money they want to give her, what number do they call?
I need my own camp.
What number do they call?
813-948-7478. We're based in Tampa. 813-948-7478.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So we love you guys. Tune in next week for another great show. Remember, God loves you all the time, and have a delicious day.